So we are in the closing days of this campaign, and Donald Trump and I have been presenting our closing arguments to the American people. As you've heard me say many times, my pledge to the American people is to pursue common sense solutions, to listen to those, even those who disagree with me, to listen to experts, and to be a president for all Americans. Donald Trump's closing argument is very different. He pits Americans against one another. He spends full time having Americans point their fingers at one another, and he spends a considerable amount of time plotting his revenge on his political opponents. As of last night, just to add more, he has indicated that the person who would be in charge of health care for the American people is someone who has routinely promoted junk science and crazy conspiracy theories, who once expressed support for a national abortion ban, and who is the exact last person in America who should be setting health care policy for America's families and children. And then, even worse, he has increased his violent rhetoric, Donald Trump has, about political opponents, and in great detail, suggested rifles should be trained on former Representative Liz Cheney. This must be disqualifying. Anyone who wants to be president of the United States who uses that kind of violent rhetoric is clearly disqualified and unqualified to be president. Representative Cheney is a true patriot who has shown extraordinary courage in putting country above party. Trump is increasingly, however, someone who considers his political opponents the enemy, is permanently out for revenge, and is increasingly unstable and unhinged. His enemies list has grown longer, his rhetoric has grown more extreme, and he is even less focused than before on the needs and the concerns and the challenges facing the American people. I have also thought a lot about what this means in terms of our standing in the world. As Vice President, I have represented the United States of America around the world, and what I know is that when we walk in those rooms representing the United States of America, we have the earned and self-appointed authority to then talk about the importance of democracy, the importance of rule of law. And as a result, people around the world who are fighting for freedom and opportunity hold us up as a model. America deserves better than what Donald Trump is offering. America deserves a president who understands our role and responsibility to our people and to the rest of the world to be a model. So I'll end with this. Voters are making their decisions. Many have voted, but there are still those who are making a decision about who they'll vote for. And what I offer is, I ask folks to, among the many issues before you, just consider who's going to be sitting in the Oval Office on January 20th. Either you're going to have Donald Trump there, who will be stewing over his enemies list, or I will be there working hard on your behalf on my to-do list. That is the choice among many that is at stake in this election, and I would be proud to earn the vote of the American people, and I do intend to win. With that, I'll take any questions.
President, have you had a chance to talk to Liz Cheney? And then secondly, are you concerned about her general security? And concerning the situation and how tense things are, do you think that the government or the administration Trump will provide her with security in this situation?
So I've not talked to her since this comment was made, but I will tell you, I know Liz Cheney well enough to know that she is tough, she is incredibly courageous, and has shown herself to be a true patriot at a very difficult time in our country, where, to your point, we see this kind of rhetoric that is violent in nature, where we see this kind of spirit coming from Donald Trump that is so laden with the desire for revenge and retribution. And Liz Cheney is a tough person. She is an incredible American, and I have an incredible amount of respect for her. I think that Liz Cheney is courageous, and that we will always make sure that we are all fighting against and speaking out against any form of political violence.
You spoke about early voting. What is your assessment? What is the data that you're seeing across the battleground?
I'm seeing the folks who are showing up at the various places where we are inviting people to come and talk with us, and where we are talking about the issues at stake. And I'm seeing an incredible amount of enthusiasm from people of every walk of life, every generation, from our first-time voters to folks who are seniors and have a lot at stake on issues like Social Security and Medicare. And what I am enjoying about this moment most is that, in spite of how my opponent spends full time trying to divide the American people, what I am seeing is people coming together under one roof who seemingly have nothing in common and know they have everything in common. And I think that is in the best interest of the strength of our nation.
By a lot more women showing up in Pennsylvania, a lot of Democratic women, first-time voters.
Women, men, folks of every background are showing up.
Vice President, you've had quite a lot of interruptions during your speeches recently, a lot of pro-Gaza protesters, and you certainly have spoken about democracy and responding to them, but do you think that you need to say a little bit more about the Mideast conflict, or about what you would do to try to satisfy them? And are you concerned at all about how you'll do in college towns and in Michigan in particular with them? President Trump today is going to Dearborn, is going to a Palestinian restaurant. This is the second kind of Arab American restaurant he's gone to. He seems to be really trying to make a play for a group that would traditionally be pretty Democratic. Do you think you've done enough to reach these voters?
Well, I'm very proud to have a significant amount of support from the Arab American community, both because of my position about what we need to do in Gaza and in the region to end the war and bring the hostages home, and my commitment to a two-state solution, but also because within that community there are many issues that challenge folks and that they want to hear about, including what we're going to do to make housing affordable, what we're going to do to bring down the cost of groceries, what we're going to do to invest in small businesses. I have a plan for all of those things, and that is something that resonates within that community and with all Americans.
They want to show the administration that what they did, that the policy and the support for Israel is wrong, and are going to make a statement, and that they don't care if it makes Trump the president. What would you tell them?
So there's a real contrast in this race when you look at who stands for democracy and democratic principles and who does not. Donald Trump is talking about an enemies list. He is talking about using the American military to turn on American citizens. He talks in a way that suggests that there should be retribution and severe consequences just because people disagree with him. My point is very clear. I believe in our democracy. Democracies are complicated in a wonderful way because we like debate. We accept and receive differences of opinion, and we work them out. One of the reasons I am going to have a Republican in my cabinet is because I want different views. I enjoy and benefit from diverse views from different perspectives that allow me then to make the best decisions I can make. That's a big difference between me and Donald Trump. And that's the big difference between someone who truly is a leader and someone who is in it for themselves and wants unchecked power. Okay, thank you all.
Harris attacking Donald Trump on his rhetoric, describing it as disqualifying, saying that the former president is increasingly unstable and unhinged. She defended Liz Cheney, saying that she's a true patriot, but there the vice president didn't directly address the substance of what Trump and his team are claiming that he was trying to say, that Cheney is a warmonger, in their words, who sent Americans into danger without having the experience of serving herself, which we should know Donald Trump didn't do.
No, he had 5 draft deferments, including one questionable one medically for bone spurs, alleged bone spurs. And she was asked there also about the Arab American vote. People who are concerned, certainly in the key state of Michigan, about the war and the U.S. support for Israel's war in Gaza, that they will consider staying home. She really didn't touch it at all. She pivoted very much to this message of democracy and that democratic principles in America are at risk in this election. I want to bring in Kristen Davison back, as well as Chuck Rocha, to talk about this. First, to the Liz Cheney comment, and that's a big headline. Where she's saying that it's disqualifying. I think in any other election it would be a bigger headline, but she is saying, Kristen, that it's disqualifying for a presidential candidate to use that rhetoric.
It's not the first time she said that. That's a continuation of her case that Donald Trump has an enemies list and she has a to-do list. I think she probably should have said, we have a to-do list, not I have a to-do list. I would probably hit her for saying what's on your to-do list, probably too political, but that's not a new argument for her. I do think she was smart to stay high level and not get too down in the weeds with the comment. Keep it focused on a similar message that we saw when she gave her speech at the Ellipse earlier this week. That's a unifying message for an undecided voter or maybe a relapsed Republican who's a little hesitant about crossing over. She's reaching out to them there. I do think that was effective. She needs to be done now. Now move on. Go back to your message. Go back to Wisconsin. Don't spend all day today talking about Liz Cheney. She did say Liz Cheney's name one too many times in those remarks, I think. Address it and move on. You have 4 days. If you were talking about Liz Cheney for 4 days, you were losing.
Chuck, you agree?
Yeah, no, I don't agree. I think that what she was doing is she can see the data that I can see every single day. And the reason for these small little bit of undecideds that may still be there, in every focus group that I do in a battleground state, it's about this presidential and looking presidential. There's a lot of folks looking for a reason to vote for her. She's only been in this race for 100 days. Donald Trump's been running for like 8-10 years. They know everything they need to know. When we talked about it being baked in focus groups, folks are looking for an adult in the room. She's trying to stand in front of that plane and be presidential is what she's trying to do.
I think that works, except everyone knows who Donald Trump is. He's been in public life for decades. If you don't like Donald Trump and you think some of his comments are disqualifying, you are either not voting for him or the economy is so bad and the country is so unsafe that you don't care. And so I don't think it's convincing anyone, because if that worked on you, you are already in the Harris
They're
camp.
in Wisconsin. There's 47,000 people in Wisconsin that voted for Nikki Haley in the primary. They're looking for this with less than 10,000 votes difference.
Kristen, I want to ask you about Nikki Haley, because the reporting is that she's given the campaign her number. She's been waiting for a call. They've not called. Should they? It's probably too late.
Yeah, you know, at this stage of the game, it doesn't matter who's campaigning with you. No offense to people who are doing it. It's great. It creates momentum. It's fun. I think, you know, J.Lo last night was fun, but I don't think she was, you know, convincing anyone to vote for Harris. And so I don't think it necessarily matters. I know, you know, Haley was in the state in Pennsylvania. I mean, I think it has the largest number of Haley voters out of all the swings, 158,000. And so it was effective for her to be there for the down ballot candidates. It helps them get a crowd, helps them get momentum. But I don't think it necessarily, she's already endorsed him. And so if you're a Haley voter and you needed that permission slip to go and vote for Donald Trump, she's already given it to you. So you don't have to actually have her there in person. The Trump campaign has their schedule. They have their, you know, their rally, they run a show. I don't think it necessarily makes or breaks it whether they have Haley there or not.
Keep on waiting. I don't think that call is coming.
Call me maybe, not.
There you go. I like it.